Hi, welcome back to Making It with Minglet. As you'll notice today, the setup is a little bit different and it may be awkward, but I am going to do a flip through of my big fat journal that I created doing the hashtag Scavenger Hunt 2025. There is 100 prompts and I have completed 100 prompts, so here we go. And the first one was scavenger hunt theme, and mine was the word of the year is live, and my scavenger hunt is live life in full color. So I wanted to make a point of using color. 2, your initials, L, S, M. And this was during the winter, and we had some snow flurries, so I called it my snow day. And you'll notice that I just doodled and had fun. Nothing serious here. Put a butt on it. I have these Greek statues that were sent to me, and I thought, well, let's just use them. Stripes. I added these stripes. These were pieces that came to me from Tracy. And these are some of the things I did while I was in recovery. Gratitude. I have 2 pages full of things that I am thankful for. And I see that I do have a shadow on here. So let me see if I can adjust the light just a little bit if it makes a difference. Okay. I didn't do both pages on everything. Some of it I did. 2 colors you hate. I hate brown, like a dookie brown, and I do not like beige, especially not on walls. So that was a way to show my displeasure with those colors. But I tried to make it a nice page anyway. Something in the mail. I've got scraps that came from Tracy. And then I have stamps that I have as part of a collection that I have taken off of mail. The wild card, I used a last year's calendar, and this is the wording that was on it. It was Colors of Hope. It was designed by somebody in the Armenian church, and so I used that because I thought the colors were really nice. The background is Paul Rubens oil pastels, and they were given to me by my daughter for Christmas, so I enjoyed, putting those colors down and blending them. It was a fun project. Stickers. I went through and I used stickers that were in my stash. I didn't buy any. I just used whatever I had and tried to have fun with it. The stars, I think, have been around since when I was a preschool teacher, so they're old. Jagged edges. I used some of the prints that were sent to me by Tracy, and then some of these were out of a magazine. It was just texture. And then I found this YouTuber that was doing tearing papers and using them on the edges of her journal pages, and I thought, well, that would be cool to do on my other page, so that's what I did. I just added those jagged pages where I used my tear ruler. Candy wrappers. This was like a trip through the candy shop for me. I have they call them bullseyes, and they're caramel on the outside, and then they have like a little center of just pure confectionery sugar, but I like them. And then this was my dad's favorite. It was a peanut butter bar, but this one was sugar free, so I was able to eat it. I have a gum wrapper, Orbit, and then this Tanooks. These are from Scotland, and that was one of my favorite candies there. My daughter loves lemon heads. And then on the other page, at Christmas, I buy 1 box of Celis, and I eat like one a day. That's my treat because I love them. We went to the Mass General Store, which for us is a old-fashioned candy store. They have big barrels full of candy, and you buy it by the pound. So I have the fortunes out of those and the wrapper. And then my daughter loves Lindor, especially the dark chocolates with filling. And then we have these little gums that we like to get. So I used candy wrappers that I thought were kind of significant and things I wanted to remember. This page I did watercolor on the background, and then I just added different scraps, quotes. And I've got quotes in the pockets and all throughout. I can add quotes still. I still have plenty of room. The earth without art is just... I thought that was cute. Snark. This is a card that was made on a live by Yolande at Devon RX, and she sent this. I was able to win this by watching her live, and she sent it to me for Valentine's Day. And I did add a few things to it so I could make it flip and I could see what it is. And then I found this, and I'm going to read it because it's hilarious. Always romance. This was in a newspaper that I got when I was in Boone. The bride, white of hair, is stooped over her cane, with faltering footsteps needing guiding, while down the church aisle, with a one toothless smile, the groom in a wheelchair comes riding. And who is this elderly couple, you would ask? You'll find them when you have closely explored it, that here is the rare, most conservative pair who waited until they could afford it. And that was written by Richard Willard Armour. And I put a note card in there. And I've got room for a few more. I think I'll put this one in there too. I enjoy snarks, but I'm not always that good at it. This is washi tape. I used, let's see, I think I used the Paul Rubens. And I just put different textures. I used different washi tapes. I didn't have that many downstairs, but I used a few that I did have. Prompt 15 is a yearbook page. I went to a Woodland Baptist Christian School. Our colors were gold, black, and white. We were eagles. And these are some pictures of me that were in one of our yearbooks, several of our yearbooks. I was so goofy. So goofy. I always wore glasses up until, I think, like 10th grade. I think I got contacts. So in this picture, I was getting ready for our banquet, or I think it was senior night. It was senior night, and we had to wear formal dresses. Put a bird on it. I used scraps from that calendar that I had cut for the page previous, and I had this crow that was sent to me. And this is Armenian. It's talking about the Diocese of the Armenian Church of America, and they send us a calendar each year because my mother-in-law was full 100% Armenian, and that was one of her favorite charities. So we honor her by continuing that tradition. Ephemera. This is something that I did while I was recovering. I would sew little scraps and make clusters, so I just added a gel print that came to me from Tracy and some of the scrap papers that were in there, and I think that turned out to be a very pretty page. The textiles came from Becca. It was something that I had purchased from her. Unused products. I used scraps, and I used watercolors. And this was something I picked up on the sidewalk at some point. Just, it's a mylar, but I don't know what it would have been used for. There's some scrap yarn, punches, papers, just different things. I did some doodling. Purple and teal page. I used primarily purple and teal. There are a few other colors that were introduced. This was a cutout from Tracy. This is also a stamp and a stencil that's available at PM Artist Studio, and it is designed by Sharon Shields. That is Texture Junkies. This was done on a live with Kathy Berg, things in a glass, and we talked about martinis. So this I know, martinis are the way to go. So I did a little doodling. Butterflies, I used tissue paper and just some abstract things. And let's see what's next. Black and white. This was sent to me by Tracy. These are some Zentangles that I had used, and those were scraps, and I thought, okay, I can add that. This page I used black tissue paper. I used this flower that was sent to me by Tracy, and this was sent to me, but I thought together they made a pretty good pairing. Fun page. Bingo. I found a bingo card, and for some reason I added animals. So here I have on the other page, I've got V, I, N, G, and O, so I have the letters and the numbers. And these pictures were out of just a local magazine I picked up free. Collage. I just added different colors. I added some stars and some quotes. Believe you can and you will. Stretching goals. Failing and resetting our goals prepares us for normal life. So when things fail you, memory and such, just know that you can do that reset. You can hit that reset button. This is a Trader Joe's Christmas bag that has the little houses on it. I made a pocket using that. And I focused on knock-knock jokes. They were kind of a favorite thing of my mother-in-law. She was a practical joker. Knock-knock, who's there? Water? Water you? Water who? What are you doing today? Knock-knock, who's there? Waddle. Waddle who? What'll it take to get you to open the door? Knock knock. Who's there? Boo. Boo hoo. What are you crying about? It's just a joke. Knock knock. Who's there? Ice cream. Ice cream who? Ice cream so you can hear me. Knock knock. Who's there? Weirdo. Weirdo who? Where do you think you are going? And I used a binding that I learned how to do from Kim on KMP, I think it is. And then greeting cards. I selected some vintage greeting cards to put in here just because I think they're really cool. Old school. And some of these are so old, like this one's so old that it's not even copyrighted. A Hallmark card that is not copyrighted. So these are Christmas ones on this side. Look at that. Is that not sweet? It was made in the USA. That's what I know. And the colors, it fascinates me to know that some of these date back to the early 40s and 50s. And the colors are surprising to me that they were able to get that many colors. I don't know what their process was, but I do know that it must have been quite the experience to be the person in charge of doing that. This one was from Stanley Greetings, and says it was made in the USA in Dayton, Ohio. And it's a little teeny tiny card. I think that might get lost in the mail now. And I have a Thanksgiving card that was sent to me from my neighbor, which I thought was really sweet. It was a thank you for being a nice neighbor. And I thought this was very pretty. The colors, it said thinking of you, and it's got a really nice note from one of our family friends. And then this one was given to me by my neighbor at the first of the year. And it says, to a joyful present and a well-remembered past, best wishes for a happy holiday and a magnificent new year. And it says, take delight in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart, Psalms 37:4. So I definitely knew when I saw that card that I wanted to use it in there. Bubble wrap. The point of the bubble wrap to me is to have fun. So I cut some shapes out of it and just had fun. I doodled around it. I did M's and hearts, and then I made some that were like stems. I did some to look like grass, and when I finished, I saved those in an envelope. Use string, twine, or ribbon. I put little stitches through this. I don't know how well you can see it. Let me see if I can get it close enough up that you can really see those stitches. Yeah, there you go. We got little stitches. And I used scraps and bling. And I used just some white thread that I had downstairs. That one wasn't too hard. Something from nature. I've got some wallpaper. It was a wallpaper border that was sent to me by Tracy. I cut those out and put the flowers in. And then I found these prints that she had sent. Well, a pine tree comes from nature. There's that palm leaf that's got beautiful coloring on it. And then I did these with a stamp that I got in watercolors. And I've outlined it with a Posca pen. And I put bloom where you are planted. And that's just a page out of a wallpaper book, a cardboard page. I've got flowers that have been traced. And this is, that was a stenciled book page of a flower. Fingerprint faces. I had not done these in a very, very long time. So I had a little bit of fun. They're silly. Especially this one. This one looks like something out of a horror story right here. But I was trying to work with, some of the shapes that had transferred through when I used ink on the next page. Yeah. That was transferred through. Ink paint spots. So I used just alcohol ink. It was the kind with a little tiny nozzle. So I was able to get some pretty good stuff. And then I used just some black paint to get the splots and splatters. I used the black paint. So it's very abstract. I came back in and I put some silver doodles in here. It's kind of a funky page. An ancestral flag. I have found out last year at Christmas, my husband gave me a DNA test because that's something that I wanted for myself. And I found out that I was 40% Viking. So I am showing a Viking flag. This is the one that was carried into battle. It was the one that stood in the Old Norse. The ravens were considered to be sacred birds of the Norse gods. So anytime that ravens were around, Odin would, they would bring him wisdom and knowledge and, war During war, the wisdom and magic was considered quite powerful. Use a stencil. These are pieces that were sent to me by Tracy. I added those in. Then I added a little wood piece. And I also added on the other page in complementary colors. This is one of my favorite prints that I've made. I used just, a scrap piece of paper that was a brayer off, and then I added the numbers and texture with something I found around the house. Buttons. I used some of the cutout circles that I had and put them down. I went around them with a Posca pen, and I wrote button, button, who has the button. I don't know if you're old enough to remember, but that was a game we used to play in school. It was a circle game, or you could play it, when you were sitting at your desk. Something coffee. I found this pair of mittens with a cup of coffee in the hand, and I thought that was kind of neat. This was at a time when it was kind of cold and frigid outside, so I added these wintry pictures, and I found this article in the North Carolina magazine, The Art and Science of Snowflakes, and this was this came out of Carolina Mountain Life, and it was their winter 24-25 edition, Blue Ridge Exploration. And I folded that and I put that down in the pocket. And I know that if I want to know anything about snowflakes, this is the place to come to. I also made this little flip book. It's kind of silly. I thought I was just going to put it in there as a notepad, but then I started finding all these snowflakes in that same edition and other places. So what I did was I brought the snowflakes here. If I want to draw snowflakes, I've got all these nice examples in my little book here. So this prompt really has sparked more than just, one page. And then this was in one of the magazines. I found it. In my mind, I'm going to Carolina. In my mind, I'm going to Carolina. And that was by James Taylor, and it was in 1968. Now, veggie stickers. I have a confession to make, Janet M. Young. I don't buy that many vegetables fresh. Most of my vegetables are frozen. But I do get fresh fruit. So I have whatever I had. I collaged the page with some of the strips that were sent to me. And then I was inspired by veggie pictures that I had to play with your fruits and veggies. So I made faces and characters out of all of them. And I know that's silly. It really is silly. But sometimes, art, it doesn't need to be serious. It needs to be something that inspires you. Draw your day. Now this looks like chaos. I started out with all of this. And it may not look like much to you, but my daughter, was given tickets from her employer. She won the luck of the draw, and she got box seats to the Ringling Brother Circus. And I had not been to the circus since my oldest daughter was a small child. And so it has changed. There's no animals now. It's more of there's clowns, but they are not really dressed like clowns. They're more like, I'd say more like an acrobatic type thing and dance. And one of the things that happened during that was there were lots of changes around the center circle. There were display screens, and those changed frequently. And what I did was I took pictures of them, and I have recreated those in these little boxes and in these rings. I have added those shapes and textures to indicate that day. It was so much fun. There was food and things like that. And one of the things leading up to the end of the show, they had a lady who got shot out of a cannon. And before that, all of the lights and sounds and things started getting this swirl as they were building up the music. And there were squares, there were zigzags, there were circles and lights, and it was lots of fun. So this is not meant to be chaotic. It's just meant to show you that there was lots of movement building up to it. And this was my way of illustrating that. Add a pocket. I used papers and stuff that was sent to me by Tracy. And some of it is from the calendar that I actually used some tea dyed and some mark making on. This she had already made up. And I added the pocket, the little tab for the pocket, and it opens up. I almost glued that shut. And it's a journal space. So I'm not through with this yet because I can do more to it. But I'm losing stuff on my desk here. These colors actually represent, things that I find peaceful, like a sunset in the evening where you see lots of oranges in it. I added some textile pieces from the little scrappy stuff that I made from stuff I got from Becca. On this side, it's the same pattern over on that, but Tracy had sent me this little bag, and I put some cards down in it using the textiles, and I added some words. Grace. On this one, I added some of the calendar that I had used. This is gel print scrap, and I just added and built on to it. So I have that. I'm sorry I hit the camera. And I just paper clipped that onto that other page. And fib art. Fib art is a group of artists that do kind of a gathering on Sunday, and I learned from Kim how to make chickens, and I made this journal card, and so I added just some scraps around it just to add more interest, but that was the first piece of fib art that I did and learned how to do. This page you've seen, I did a video on it. This pocket is holding tags. So you can find this in the playlist. Use a frame. I framed pictures of my husband and myself. This was in Scotland last year. This one was in Iceland. And in the background, let me move it where you can see it. In the background, you can see, just barely, if you look right here in the background, you'll see that there is a mountain. That mountain is actually a volcano, and that was in Iceland last year. And I added some quotes. It's the little things. I added some textiles. And these are things I made when I was doing my recovery from my surgery. And then I added this tag. On March the 2nd of 2025, we celebrated 40 years of being married. We've been together for 47 years, so we've hung out for a while. Prompt 42 is food packaging. This company has the prettiest, I think, graphics that you'll find. This is off some gluten-free products. You should totally meet our friends. I thought that was cute. Your freedom of expression deserves to be liberated. And that was on the inside of a box. This was on the outside of a box, pure joy. And for some reason, ever since I was a little kid, when I see that, it makes me smile, because it's something about the sunshine and the harvest that just makes me happy for some reason. This is off of a tissue box. I used some gel prints, and there's a sticker there. Say Hello came off of some gluten-free crackers, and this also came off of that same package. It says, "Be your brightest self." And I have this envelope here that I have not glued shut thoroughly, but it can be used as a note card. So don't discount food packaging. You can use lots of things off of food packaging. And then I added a journal card that's got kind of some abstract stuff going on. But it matched the colors of the taco mix. You've probably heard me talk about my kids. Both of my kids have to be gluten-free, so, that's just a given for us anymore. Blue and pink page. I was inspired to use the blue and the pink. I used some of the scraps that Tracy sent me. And I added this deer and this mountain picture in the background, and I put some sparkly stuff down. Let's see if I can show you that a little better. You got the mountains, and you got that little deer that was on a Christmas card envelope. Then I have, on this other side, I have a yo-yo that my friend Michelle sent me, and I used that naked woman, one of those naked women, and instead of having her breast hanging out, I just put her something on her tatas there. And it says, "You did it." That was something that a friend had sent, and I used it. I have my Zentangles, and I have added on the back, I cut out a page that was colored in my Zentangle coloring book. And I cut mushrooms out to add to this. But I doodled and doodled and doodled. And it was a long doodle day. Hybrid animals. Now, it was a little bit tricky, but I managed to pull it off. I've got elephant legs, an elephant face, and I've got a penguin body. I've got a mountain lion, and I've got two bird heads on it. I found a bear body, and I gave it a bird head. And then I had this little bit that had been printed too large for me, and I added, I forget what that is, but I added wings, a wing, a tail, bird feathers for the tail that came off of a boa. I was walking in my craft room, and those feathers were there. My daughter had been somewhere where she had dressed up. And for the base of this, I just used scraps out of a magazine, and then I did some stenciling on the background. And that stencil is Darcy Sanders from TM Artist Studio. It's Peacock Swirls, I believe is the name of it. Song. When I think about a song, I think about music, so I put some music back here. But I also think about the birds and their song. It says, Then I add this little song. It says, "You sing a song and I'll sing a song, and we'll sing a song together." Nature is a place where music plays the most beautiful song. And I have a couple of pictures here. I used stuff out of that. The peacock is a napkin. And the tissue paper, I think, is Tim Holtz, if I'm not mistaken. This was out of a magazine, but these are pictures that I took. This was the day we went to the races, the Clash. And this is a little cardinal, I think, a female cardinal. But the day it snowed, they were coming up on the rail, and they were kicking the snow off. It was so funny. It was like they didn't want their feet to be cold. I don't know. But it made me laugh. Book page. I used book pages. I didn't add any color to them. Use old book pages. Every time you choose to recycle, you are giving that item a second life to serve a new purpose and save natural resources. So I am a firm believer in recycling. And these are some prints that Tracy had sent me. Now, the background is the Paul Rubin oil pastels. And this is a picture that was made of me post-COVID, but it was like one of the first car shows that we went to in Mount Airy. And it was July. It was hot as Hades. But a gentleman had his llama out there, and you could have your picture made. Flowers. This is dried flowers from my garden or my yard. And I blew some of the paint. I dripped and I blew it, and it gave me these nice swirls. And then I did some splattering as well. Decorate a paper clip. I decorated a bunch of paper clips. I did, we have this one, and that's just a flap that can hold any kind of cards. I've got this one right here that had fallen out. Let me get it over the center here. I just tucked it back until I finished. This was out of a magazine, and I thought that it matched this flower. Got just a journal card in here. And this was I think this was a really good quality magazine. I've got this one that I added a little tassel to, and I stuffed it with some journal cards that kind of matched it. These are lines that I made with the part off of my printer. And then prompt number 56 is postage. I've got a few old letters. And I've got some stamps from all over the world. And I tried to add a variety of the things I have. Red and turquoise page. This one I thought was going to be a little bit difficult, but once I got into it, it wasn't so bad. I just started it by doing the mark making with the roller that I took out, that Bill took out of the printer when he was trying to figure out what made it break. And so I added some mushrooms. And I've got this mushroom that I added feet to. And I believe I did an individual page on this as I was working on it. Look through a keyhole. I thought about keyholes, and the only keyhole that I can remember ever looking through was one at my grandmother's, and it was the bathroom. That door never had a key in it because they wanted to make sure nobody got locked out of the bathroom or locked in the bathroom. As a child, I often looked through the keyhole at my Nanny and Papa's house. My favorite was the bathroom, and there was a lovely clawfoot tub, and I remember loving that tub, just loving to get in there and soak because I was a little girl and it just seemed magical because I'd never seen one like it, and I enjoyed it so much. So that's what I drew. There was a real funky tile floor, and then the tub set off to the side, and I know scale-wise this is nowhere near correct, but that's just what my mind could recall. We didn't really have keyholes at our house. I mean, you had more modern day stuff. Black background. I put the black. I could not do the solid black. I needed some of that white to come through. And I had found this bus, and I thought it was kind of cute. And then I have several of these clocks that came out of advertisements. And I was able to put together this, don't blink, time flies. So I gave the clock wings. And then I have on the other side, I made a little belly band with a gel printed heart. And I have this thrifted card that has lines on the back of it. And I added these textiles to it. And like I said, I made a bunch of those little hand-whipped sewn clusters when I was doing my recovery. I think I can take that stencil out. Stick figures. I drew those with colored pencils, and I put dream and happiness. Each one of those, kind of represents just being happy, being free, being who you are. Use crayons. I used texture up under my crayons and stencils to produce some shapes, and I added the words wonder and inspire. And you never forget the smell of crayons. When I got them out, it reminded me of being in school and being around crayons. So we have some scrap fabric here. We have some ribbon. We have some bling stuff that we could add sparkle with. And I have a paper clip that I had made for the other side. And so I added the bling to it too. And we're going to flip that over. Something cold. We've got our snowman. And you can see more of this on the playlist. Create a border. I used the crayons and the stencils behind it to create borders. I also have these flowers that I did one time. I did these out of just scraps, and I cut them out by hand, and then I sewed them on a strip, so that made a belly band and a border at the same time. And I have not stuffed that yet. I'll have to do that. Rubber stamps. I used acrylic paint on this one. You can tell by how bold it is. And I came back in with stamps and just had fun. I mean, it's very, very hippie-ish, I think. And then here's the Art Nouveau. I did a video on that. It should be available very soon. The Pictionary. What I did was I made myself a game. I've got prompts inside here that I have done. Here's an example. I have on this one, it's a crab. So I drew a crab. And I can continue this page by getting in there and finding prompts. If you want to find prompts, if you do not have a Pictionary game box up, you can go Google it, and it will give you a whole list of them. A planner page. I've got my first thing I do in the morning, I have my medical check-in. I check my blood pressure, my oxygen level, blood sugar. I brush my teeth, I brush my hair, I dress for the day. I start the coffee, I unload the dishwasher, take my morning meds, and then I watch YouTube. Yes, I have it on my schedule. The next thing I do is I make the bed and start laundry. And then I have an area that I would do brain dumps, or if I had errands to do. And I always include my meal plan in what I'm going to do for the day. Complementary colors. Complementary colors are that are opposite on the color wheel. They create a high contrast that makes colors appear brighter and more prominent. So I use the combination of red and green, blue and orange, yellow and purple. And you can see the different contrast in these prints that I've used to tell that story. And a lot of those were book pages, but they were all gel prints. A window envelope. These are little punch outs that were in a stencil for letters. So I thought, well, why not use them? I used a double window, so that meant I had to fill both parts of that window. So here's what I come up with. I have a piece of an envelope, and I added the flowers. I added just, some different collages to complete it. And that was off of a coloring book. And then I liked having this crow out here. I think that's why I kind of used that shiny stuff. I just wanted to tie it all together. And that was easy. And that's some scrap. I don't know what it's made for. It's I've used it for stencils, and I've also used it for other things. Circles. Circle is the two-dimensional shape where all points on its boundaries are the same distance away from the center point, called the center. I have these circles that were cut out and sent to me by Tracy, and I have some of her gel prints here. So I actually made myself a fish and kind of a sea scene. And then I've carried that sea theme over here. If you know Tracy, you know that the ocean, she's like a mermaid. She lives for the ocean. Pages of houses. These are the little houses that I made in some. I've got streams where I made the little houses, and I was able to use them here. And I immediately, when I read Pages of Houses, I was hearing from my head. My head was singing, "Little houses on the hillside, little houses made of ticky-tacky something." It was from the theme song from Weeds, which I think is on Netflix. Botanicals. I have several leaves. That is a ginkgo leaf. We have a ginkgo tree at one of the parks, but this particular one came from a neighbor's house. I do not know where there are. I know about 3 places where you might find ginkgo trees in our area, but this is tissue paper that came from a clothing order that my kids had. Doodles. I have some little doodles here. I put some doodles in the pocket over here. I put some mushrooms that I had doodled, and let's see what else. Like some little butterfly shapes and some flowers. So, I can add little notes to them or whatever. And I can continue to add to that page. It doesn't have to be finished. This is a doodle that I did when we were at the races on February the 1st. We were at Bowman Gray Stadium in Winston-Salem, North Carolina for the Clash. That was a fun thing to do. I did take something to doodle while we were there because I knew there would be some time that nothing was happening. My husband says, "I can't believe you're going to doodle," but I knew I would have a place for it to go, or not doodle, but neurographic art. And so I added things to it. I did put Clash so I'd remember where I did it. And here's another one that I did, and for some reason when I started looking at it, I kept seeing all these silly faces. So I put those faces, I messed with them a little bit. Dr. Seuss character. This is out of a coloring book. Thing 1 and Thing 2. I remember my children, while they were in a private school before they went to high school, and they had a Dr. Seuss day, and we turned their hair blue, and we teased it up, and they were dressed like Thing 1 and Thing 2. It was really cool. But that was out of a coloring book, so I just added some colors to it. My favorite animal is a camel. I really like camels. It has some significance for our family. The camel cigarette. My husband's grandfather put the Turkish blend in the camel cigarette. He hand selected those tobaccos for R.J. Reynolds. So, yeah, camels are all in my house. I've got all kinds of little camels. The view out the window. This was a snowy day inspiration. An unexpected snow fell, and it was lovely and so magical. So there's a picture of it, and I added that sparkle snow to it. This is the window that I look out from my recliner. When I'm watching YouTubes, I look out the window and watch the birds and the squirrels. Create your own logo. Well, I already have a logo, but I thought, okay, let's do making it with Minglet, and let's just do something very abstract. So I found this in a magazine, a garden magazine, and the head was in there, but it was on something different. And I thought this edge, this is hanging rock, and near Boone, and that was in a magazine. So I thought it kind of had a nice flow to it, and I like it. I think it turned out pretty cool. It's dimensional. It's got flowers, and I need to have my husband to scan it. Artist trading cards. I used the little circles that Tracy had sent, and I have these beautiful artist trading cards. These came to me from California, and they were made by Fran. And these, she is a glass guru. She makes all kinds of sculptures with glass. This one is from my friend Violet. And this one came with an order from Carrie Gibson, along with this. We create hundreds of new ideas out of nowhere for the culturally curious. And she's in the UK. Uh-oh. I dropped that. I'll have to pick that up. Patterned paper. I used some deli paper that I had used crayons and gone over stencils with to create this. And then I added it to my page. Blue and brown. I just used a card mostly, and I did drop it on the gel plate to get the brown. And this kind of went along with it, and I made it to where it could be a pocket. Downtown Boone. It shows the mountains, and it's a little cozy town. You know I love it. It's one of my favorite places to go. A quilt. I made a quilt section out of some scrap fabrics, and then I did an applique of a piece of tapestry. I carried the theme over. I added that fabric to a piece of cardstock to make a belly band, and I added this envelope. No, pay. Yeah, it's an envelope. It was a double envelope. So I added this envelope. I can put things in it. I can use it as a journal space. Either one. We're almost done. A mosaic page. I struggled with this one until I realized that I could cut something out and take it apart. And it took looking at different mosaics in Pinterest to figure it out. And then I used this out of a coloring book. I thought that it would kind of add to that feel, you know, that it was tiles and such. But I ended up just folding a piece of paper until I got it small enough and pieced it together. I made a tassel for my book. There's a video on that. I have my instructions here, so if I need to remember how to do it. So here we have a monochromatic page. What is the definition? Containing or using one color. The task is to create using one color family so you can use varying shades of the color. This is an echo print, and it was from a cedar tree. And I used the gel plate. I selected baby blue and a dark blue and completed the prompt. I did that on deli paper, and I think I got it pretty good. You know, I think I fulfilled it. Mushrooms. This was from a magazine. I just went crazy on the page and had fun with some color. These were made by my friend Tracy, and they are so beautiful. And I really think that the colors I used in the background was very complimentary. Found relatives. Well, this is where I'm at with this. My maiden name is Samuels. My mother's maiden name is Robertson. And I was trying to figure this out, and I went back on I went back and looked because I didn't know as much as I should know about my grandparents' heritage, but I have been doing research, and I've got a place here that I can add the branches to my family. And so that's one of the things that's going to happen. And I really like the way this turned out. This was an echo print, and I really thought that it was kind of cool. So that's what I made into a pocket, and that was on an envelope. But I will be adding to this as I identify more people. I will come up with a format that works to put those family histories in. Use acrylic paint. I scraped some on. Some of it I brushed with very light brush. I used Posca pens, and I just had a little fun. Some of these were so easy. Something given to you. This is probably the oldest thing that was given to me. This was from a quilt that my dad carried in his truck. It was given to him by a very sweet woman. And I have this envelope that was given to me. I have a wallpaper insert that was given to me that I gel printed on. These gel prints were given to me. This is off of a label, and this part is from Tracy. And I made just a little pull out on that. And this was from Tracy, and I don't remember who sent me the flowers, and I've got a little bit of vellum paper there. This was a clothing label that my daughter gave me. So I have journal spaces here. This book, I just took some of the pages and I sewed them together, and then I used this to finish it out. And I put some of that scrap on the edge too. I had to do a recent repair to that. All about you. Well, I live near Winston-Salem. I love the mountains. My initials are LM. I love flowers. I love textiles and strings, and I love this button that my neighbor gave me. I have a pocket here that I can add more things if I want to. And this was from Tracy. I have this card that I got from somebody, I don't remember who, and I added the gel print and a little cutout. This was a baby shower invitation, and I gel printed it, and it's all in my favorite colors, and I thought that fit well. And this is a card from my sweet neighbor, Carol. You hear me talk about Carol, but it was a birthday card that she handmade, and she always made the cutest cards. But she put a lot of effort into it, and I'm glad I can preserve it here with things I like. Fancy lettering. I made an M with the swirls, and it's kind of got ivy, and I just created this little scene from it. I used like a pearlescent background, and I used some pearly paints on the girl, the little fairy, and if there's a fairy, there needs to be mushrooms. Swatches. I got tired of swatches. I started out, I was going to swatch, do little swatches like this. Well, that didn't last long. And then I started seeing swatches on the end of boxes, and I said, well, why am I not using those? So I added those, and there's room for more. And I even added some on the ends of the page. An emoji. This is not unique, gorgeous, or beautiful, but I don't know. That is the funniest emoji ever to me. I had to evoke my potty humor. Have you pooped today? Oh, yes. You're smiling. Or, oh, no, you're not. And then, if you're having problems, you've got your stool softener, your Miralax, your Phillips. And then it says, oh, yes, I am on a roll if you have pooped. You could overlook that page. I could have used a different emoji. I'm sure I could have. All right, these are gel prints. This is a PM Artist Studio stencil. I don't remember its name right offhand, but I used it to make pockets because it's on cardstock. And I have already put some things in it, but I've got room to grow on that one. This is my pink and orange page. These are some textiles that I got from Becca. These are some more of the gel print pages from Tracy. And this is my tissue paper abstract. I used watercolor in the background, and then I brought in some tissue paper that I had in my stash. And I think that turned out nice. Draw your cup. It is my cup, and it is always half full. So here is my cup, my half full cup. Here's my wanted poster. You can see this prompt number 99 in my playlist. Wanted, alive and well, arty woman with hair. All right, and I did it on this 100th prompt. I cut out circles and I explored the following pages, and there is a full video on this page, so look for it. I know this video has gotten a little bit long, and I thank you for staying, and I know this was probably a little bit awkward as far as trying to stay in focus, but the book is so big that that's the best I could do with it. I know next time that I don't want to use this type of book. I want to use something a little bit different, maybe a smaller size. But I have enjoyed this journey, and I thank you, Janet, so much for providing these prompts and sparking interest. It got me through recovery from surgery. It got me through the winter months, and I still have room to play. So thank you so much. And to all of you, thank you for watching this video. I know it is long. I hope you speed it up and just look, and in those places where I maybe should have made other choices like the emoji page, just overlook that. That's me. That's something that's a real deal here. It's everybody's got to go at some point, but anyway. I don't guess I should really have to apologize. They asked for an emoji, and I gave them one, right? All right. So until next time, please, if you have not liked the video, if you can take time to hit that thumbs up. If you leave a comment, I will respond, and I do thank you for those comments. And to all the people that watch every video and comment, I thank you. I appreciate that you take the time to support my channel, and I look forward to talking to you further in the future. So be well, my friends, and have a great day.